So all of the remaining structure we need to add onto a specific page. It's called the master page, which you can find from the pages panel, which is over here. So if I hover over and left click on pages, or when you go to file and choose print, then it will print all the number of pages lower down here. So pages 1 through to 6, that's what it will print. But in terms of stuff that appears on a regular basis that looks exactly the same, like your grids and guides and things like that, the structure of the document, it needs to go on a master page. So these are really kind of all singing and all dancing headers and footers. You can put anything you want onto a master page, such as page numbers, so that they'll appear in the same place. So this one's called A Master, and you'll notice that every InDesign document always has an A Master. A in here, shown in the thumbnail, A in here, that's the page master that's applied to everything in your document. So by default, every InDesign document that's made has an A master page applied to every single document page. So this is where we're going to put our extra structure, our page numbering and things like that. In order to go to it, you'll have to hover your cursor over the name A Master and double left click. And then it takes us for the first time to a double page spread. How do we know we're on the master page? Take a look at the very bottom left-hand side of InDesign and it should read A Master when you double left click on the name of it in the pages panel. So from here, a couple of things we need to turn on. You'll need to go to the view menu and go down the list to grids and guides and then choose show baseline grid. This is what we're going to use to snap our text to in the document. And the little grey lines in there, that's what we're going to use to align everything to. It's very handy and I'll show you how it works. But that's what it looks like. It's a light grey colour. Now you'll need to make sure that it's set to the right size. So again, I'm going to go back to InDesign, down to Preferences, and then choose Grids. Because the appearance of our grids, and then specifically the baseline grid, it needs to be set to light grey. Not one of the horrible, obnoxious, luminous colours that it gives you in the listing here. They need to be sort of dulled down, the baseline grids. They need to start at 0mm from the top margin. Not the top page, it needs to be set to top margin. And then the increment, how often do they appear? Well, that needs to be set to the body style, the article style of your text's leading value. So the gaps between your lines of text and your articles, that's the value put in here. And we have, for the most part, for our body copy inside of here, I'm going to use a font called Savannah, and it's going to be Normula. It's going to be a regular style font, but it's going to have a size of 8 points, and it's going to be set to a leading value of 12 points in here. So the increment every of 12 points is good. Viewing threshold, I will probably tend to say set that to 75%. It basically means that if you are viewing your file at a 75% zoom level or greater, the grey lines will appear. If you zoomed a lot further out, InDesign will assume you don't need to see that kind of detail. In terms of what zoom level are we appearing at? Well, take a look at the Documents tab up here. Esquire Article 01 at 96%. That's our zoom level. So it's a good kind of Goldilocks number is 75% in there. And then down at the bottom, turn off the checkbox for grids in back. We want the grids to always be visible on screen, and then you can click OK. So from here, we then need to add some extra columns and potentially some rows as well, but InDesign only offers us columns when you build a brand new document. So from here, we need to make sure that we are still working on the A master page. Then left click in the layers panel on the guides layer, because that's where we want the content to live. You highlight it in there and then InDesign knows where to put the stuff. And then you go to the layout menu and choose create guides. When the dialog box pops up on screen, turn on the preview checkbox, and then we need to set the appropriate amount of columns in here. So I'm going to set this to 9. And then the gutter, that needs to be the same that we defined for the columns. So swipe over the value for 5mm. I'm going to change that to be a magic number of 8.467. And again, always hit the tab key if you want to click on anything, or click in a different field to see update on screen. And in here now, you will see that the guides, well, they kind of look a little bit random, and the gaps between them in here do match the ones that we had in the original columns. but you'll need to make sure that under options, your guides will fit to not the page, but the margins. And then they will nice and neatly line up with where all the main important content is going to be, all your text and things on that page in there. So that's a specific one we've got for our document. We're not going to add any extra rows in here. You could always, it would obviously create rows across your document. But with that done, I'm happy. I'll click OK. All of those now appear in the guides layer. You can turn them off. So if you don't want to see them, you can click on the visibility icon and all those guides disappear. You can click back on the empty area and they'll then reappear in there. So this gives us, kind of most of the structure that we need to work to now. So it's like anything in life. You want to build a building, you go and get an architect to build some plans. Being able to plan ahead is a key part of this, and that's working with guides.